Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to review this Craftsman screwdriver case tutorial. It's a beginner tutorial. It's quite simple. The entire shape is creating using shape generator. The holes are using cylinder and using some ways to position them, and then we have text, and then using Boolean operation, stitch and scoop, which is SelfCAD's Boolean operation to combine them. If you scroll down, you can see that number of steps is 54, which is relatively few. And you can see what's used. The shape generator makes the shape. 3D sketch actually is not used for creating a shape. It's just used to create a sketch that's going to use as a guide. So we create basically a circle here and then position the cylinders around it. We use move tool, help to position. We create a circle, which is a part of 3D sketch, the tool we use to the circle. We use difference, which is a part of stitch and scoop, to remove the holes. And we create a cylinder that is used to cut out the holes. We use text generator to create text. Copy offset helps make the copies around, and then follow path is also used to position them, and snap help to position and group them. So they're quite simple tutorial, but there is some that you can learn, especially the shape generator. And so let's begin. Okay, so I've loaded the project, and as you can see, the first thing starts with the shape generator. So the shape generator is a tool by itself. It's very similar to the cylinder in the sense that it's a object that has a radius and it goes a cylindrical type of object, and has different radius for top and bottom. So you can set, in this case we'll set the top radius would be 28, and then we'll go down the bottom radius, in this case would be the same, would be 28. And we have the number of edges, which defines them. It's grayed out because we're not setting this in the tutorial. The minimum is 5, and I guess that's the default, so there's no changes needed. And you have the same in a cylinder when you create a cylinder, and then we have the height to 1. So far we are similar to the settings that you have in a cylinder, but here is where it starts getting interesting. The shape generator has the option to create a segment, and this is where the magic happens. So we can create a next segment. By default, the segment will copy the same settings you had in the first segment, but we are going to make changes. So we're going to set the top radius to 26, and we leave the bottom to 28. So this creates kind of like a bevel or chamfer, where it's called. And then you go down over here, we change the height, we make to 1.5, so it creates something like this. Still, we use the same amount of segments, everything, so it's just kind of like adding an edge loop here in the center and then chamfering this. But it's going to get more interesting. We add another segment, a third segment, and now we are changing the radius top to 20. So the bottom is still the same, so it's connecting here, but the top is changed, so it gets even, the angle gets even more. So it's kind of like adding, at this point, adding like a chamfer with 2 segments and kind of making it like this, or more like actually not a chamfer. This starts look like more like a fillet. So that's 2 segments and has this, but this is much more flexible, defined how the angle looks. And then we add the height to 20. Still, this is relatively simple. So we have a 3 segments, creates this. It's already much easier this than make different shapes, combine them, or using, you can actually make a shape and make the segments and scale them. So you can do them manually, but much easier. You have a shape that creates it. But now is where the magic is going to happen. The last segment, the 4th segment, we add another segment, and here look how many settings we have over here. So we start with the top radius to 14, which is similar before. We're just setting the radius, the bottom to 16, so we still do the same. But here's the difference, where the bottom radius is not the same as the top from the previous. Until now we had all of them matching. Here it's not matching. So in order, if you understand a little bit of topology, the way it works is, if this is not matching, we need to fill in over here. We need to create additional faces here to actually make the connection. And SelfCAD's shape generator is automatically doing them. It creates all of them, but it can get even more interesting is if you change the number of edges. So until now also all of them had the same number of edges. Now we're going to change the number of edges to 22, meaning this becomes much more rounded. Still, this number of edges means that we have a lot of edges here that needs to connect. In order to stay manifold, they all must be connected, meaning is we have these corner vertex, for example, needs to connect to many edges from this cylinder looking shape now, but this is still gonna get even more interesting, so we'll see in a second. So we're just gonna set the height now to 12.5, and so now if we're gonna scroll down, here's the really magic that can happen here. So we can set the offset. So first of all, we're gonna set the offset, the position offset, we're gonna set to 3.5. Okay, so what you see over here, you see it's hard to see because we're not in wireframe mode. You're gonna see it later when we finalize, but these are the connections. As you can see, these edges are divided, like this is the center point from the cylinder, and it connects to this vertex, and then the next edge to this vertex and this vertex, all of them connect to each other, and this creates this all of these faces. When we move it up and make an offset, basically we stretch it to move it up, it creates this nice effect. Now we have here something we're not going to use. There's an option, offset smoothness, which allows to interpolate that, actually add additional segments in the center here, so it's going to give it a different effect over here. It's different than different smoothness than if you can use, for example, Loft or Bridge, which is actually going to create like a spline, smooth it out. This is just going to split the effect and smooth them out, but it's not used to here, so maybe you can show it later how it's going to look like. At the end, I'll try to show it at the end. Okay, and then we have a bevel. So I'm going to add a bevel offset here. It's actually a very small bevel, just a 0.1, and so a tiny bevel. So what bevel is doing, it adds basically a center over here, a split, and you can make the bevel negative or positive. So if it's one positive, meaning it comes out, or you can make a negative, and you can add the level, which is the same setting you have in chamfer and fillet, which the level means how many splits we had, and if you make it more level, it becomes more smooth, and you can make a negative and positive. But here it's actually not used for the purpose of a bevel in the center as typically we think of a bevel. It's actually used to create kind of a chamfer. So let's see how we do that. So we move up the weight. So the weight is basically the center is here, and the weight is how you move it up or down, and we move it to 4.8, which is let's first see what the height of this object is. Yeah, the height is 12.5. Yeah, I think 12.5 is just, I'm thinking why 4.8 is the weight. So I think this goes, the weight is maybe positioned from the center. Actually, I don't know, I have to test it, where it says over here, but no, it just says the, okay, it said position of the bevel. Okay, it doesn't tell me how it's calculated, but it's probably calculated from the center, and you move it up 4.5, which is almost entirely. So what this did is it gave it a small bevel over here. It moved it up, and it's hard to see without wireframe mode, but it has a small bevel here going down to smooth it out. And now we're going to simply rotate this to minus 9. Now I want to show you something before we finalize. I want to show you something very interesting. So this actually has an option to save in advanced settings. Most of the other features here are blocked in SelfCAD. This actually is not blocked. I can add a macro. So you have over here a macro that tells you it automatically names it, but you can rename it. So let's say, well, I'll make it to test macro. Okay, test macro 1. Okay, and now I click save, and if you see macro 1 is saved. So this is actually cool that it allows you to save it, and I'll show you later when I finish the tutorial. I can come back and load it from here and show you how we can actually edit them and work in it. But now we're just going to finalize it, and we turn on wireframe mode. So you can see what I spoke before, where I said this is manifold, like it takes the center from here, connects it, and while this was flat down, the face was still here. Now we just moved it up and basically stretched it. Okay, so now we have the basic shape ready, and what we're going to do now here is we're going to go to 3D sketch, and this is just gonna, I think my rotation wasn't entered. Let's see. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move this here just to draw a circle over here and close it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create a cylinder, and I'm just going to go next to fill in. So I'll actually show you, it's the same idea. You have your top radius, bottom radius, and height, and the segments. So it's basically the same idea. But here we have actually vertical, horizontal segments. You don't have a shape generator. But other than that, we're just going to position and rotate. So I'm just going to click next, and we create this cylinder over here, which is also kind of top radius is bigger than the bottom radius. And now we're going to go to snap. So we're going to snap it to this center point over here. So we're just snapping it here, and we're going to move it down. So it's going to give it like this angled cylinder. This not angled, where it's called, it's you call it a tapered. So it's like the inverse of a taper. So with this tapered cylinder, we can move it down to minus 32. So it's moved down over here, and we click X to close it. Okay, so this is basically positioned just there. Now we're going to go to copy offset, and we're gonna scale the copy, and just gonna scale it to minus 2x, minus y, and minus z. I'm just gonna click next to fill it in, these settings over here, and making just one copy. We're making just one copy, and the purpose of that is to resize this shape over here. And now we're going to uncheck the first shape, keep only the copy shape, and we basically just scaled it. It's actually in the same position still, so we're going to snap it now to the correct position where we want it to position, and we position it here actually around this, snapping it to this path that we created, this circle. And now we're going to select the circle. So we select this first and then the circle, and we're going to go to the follow path to make the copies. We're going to use the use spacing option, so we can choose the how many to space it out basically, and we're going to set the number of copies to be 9. So this basically what this did is it made these copies over here, and we click to confirm, and now we're simply going to group them all together. So we have this group, and now what we're going to do is we're going to move the y, position the height. So the y is going to be to 1.8.5, and position it over here and close it. Okay, so now we have basically this group that is over here. We have the center point, that is the first one we started, and then we have this one, which actually don't know, we'll see soon what we're going to do with this. Okay, so now we're going to go to text generator, and we're going to create a text. So we have to choose the font that is going to be used. We have to choose type in the text and set the settings. We're just going to click next. So you see typed in Craftsman, and it positioned it over here. We set the position, and we're going to finalize it, so we're going to be able to see it now. Let's see if I rotate, you see it over here. This is where it was positioned. And now we're going to select this one. This one needs to be combined, which is in Stitch and Scoop Boolean tools. This is called union. We combine them, and then these needs to be cut out. So, but the idea here is we can do them all together and actually save. So we're selecting this group, which is around here. We're selecting this one, and now we're going to select this one over here. It tells me to select this mesh 4. I can try clicking it, selecting it. Now I have to click from here. It selects this one. Okay, so now we're going to give it a different color, and as you can see, it colored all of this. And now we're selecting also this mesh, the entire thing, and we're going to go to we're going to isolate this, basically hide the other things. We keep only this, and we're going to make a difference. So the fact here is that we're removing these things over here, this point, the bigger one, and then the smaller one that we scale down. It will automatically also combine union this, so we don't have to first remove this and then use union to combine this. This is the union, this is the difference. It will actually do everything at once. And if you go back this one, you can see this is finished, and we're left with this extra copy made over here. I didn't pay attention why we created this, but you can just get rid of the other things and delete them and so on. Okay, so let me just show you what I showed you before about saving the macros, so I can actually show you why this is helpful. So we have this, and let me actually move this out of the way, and I'm going to turn on the wireframe mode also. Actually, it's not nice after the union, but still to be able to see here. So I'm going to go to the shape generator again, and now instead of adding anything over here, I'm just going to go in advanced settings, and I'm going to choose load macro, and I'm going to load my test macro that I just created. And look at this. this is the shape over here. But now I have full flexibility. I can go to the segments, choose which segment I want to modify. What I'm going to do over here is I'm going to modify, let's say, the offset smoothness. So you see the effect here. Okay, I didn't realize that the wireframe mode doesn't work here, even if it's on, while in this shape generator wireframe mode is off. So I'm not sure that could be added. I have to ask SelfCAD. But what I'm going to do over here, I'm going to offset smoothness. So look what's happening over here. We can add this type of effect. Actually, it doesn't look nice on this particular shape. On this particular shape, it's nicer the way it was done without the smoothness, which is probably why the designer did it this way. But in certain shapes, this actually creates something really nice. It's a transition, but this is different than what you would expect from a loft. And I can show you that as well. If you want to bear with me another minute, I'm going to, let's say, undo this smoothness, where I just put it in position offset smoothness. I'm going to reduce that, keep the minimum. And I'm going to show you how you can actually do this with a loft. So how can you do it with a loft? I need to select these faces in loft or bridge. So how can I actually select them? This is actually interesting, but yeah, it's good to learn. So I'm going to use here a tool, going to polygon mode, and I'm going to select this polygon over here, this one over here, I mean these polygons, the entire bottom basically, selecting these polygons. And now I'm going to select all these center ones. So how I'm going to do it, I'm going to go to wireframe mode and I'm going to simply select this. Okay, so it selects all these polygons. Now we're going to do the same thing over here, selecting this, it selects all of these polygons. Okay, and now I can select also this polygon. So just to show you what I did, I selected basically every second polygon. The reason I did this is because I wanted them to be open, kind of create a hole. There is a setting here in edge selection, select loose. SelfCAD is a new feature actually. SelfCAD has now made switching from polygon mode to edge mode behaves as select loose. So basically it selects everything that is loose. Loose means that it's not connected. And because I didn't select this in the center, it considers that as not connected. So now I have all of the, I'm going to make a separate video explaining them more in detail, but for now this is basically what I have here. So I'm simply going to click copy. Okay, so now let's isolate this for a second. So you can see what we have over here. Actually it didn't select completely. Here was an issue somehow, I don't know why. Let's go undo. Undo, here is something not selected correctly, I'm not sure why. So I'm going to uncheck this, select this, oops. Why is it okay? And I have to isolate this, hide away the other object, it blocks me. Okay, selecting this, unchecking this, and now let's see, let's make a copy and isolate. Okay, so now we have what we need. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to bridge tool, and you can see actually it creates almost identical to what we created with shape generator, but this is two things actually you see over here. So number one, here something wrong, so I have to see position the shapes, and here's something not in the order. So I see this is the first one highlighted, and then it goes to this one, and then it goes to this one, which is just wrong. So I just need to move this one, the 0 one, and this one actually needs to swap position. So it goes like this. So this is the first one, this the second one, this the third one, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then the inner one. So we all fine. So now the shape is perfectly created, but this is because I have this linear. If I turn off linear, you see what's happening now. Now we have a smooth transition that actually smooths it out, really smooth out. Everything is smooth out. And depending on the smooth settings, how smooth I want it to be. But let's say I do it like this. If you finalize, let's turn on wireframe mode, you can see the difference. This is actually a real smoothing effect, which you get with Loft and bridge. But the offset that you saw on the shape generator is actually different. It's not an effect of smoothing, it's just an effect of interpolation splitting the effect. But anyways, this is kind of like an extra from the tutorial. If you're still watching, thanks for watching. And I'll make another video about this polygon selection separate. It's a new feature and it's worth exposing. It's really good for editing objects. It has a lot of use cases. Okay, thanks for watching, and please let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions, questions, and if you want me to show anything else. Have a great day, bye.